If I look like I'm looking past the camera at any point, it's because I'm trying to make sure that I'm in frame.
Am I really that much handle? Breaking these niggas down like a camera. You don't really do
Hi guys, and welcome back to Makeup Mondays. If you haven't seen the last video where I talk about all the things you need as a beginner in makeup, make sure you go watch that. Some of the stuff in this ain't necessarily gonna make sense unless you know what you need. You can't be coming here without your pencil and paper. How you gonna show up to school without pencil and paper? That's what I thought. So make sure you go ahead and watch that video and then you just come back. This video, we're talking about something different, and I have to admit, I did make a slight mistake in the last video. I didn't upload it in all things, only to have made this slight mistake. It's really not that big, so it is what it is. The mistake I made last video was using base for complexion. I say base because I'm just used to saying base because I just feel like it's the base of my makeup. It's interchangeable, honestly. It is interchangeable. Some people say base, some people say complexion. Some people think that base is simply the steps that it takes to get to the point where you need to add complexion. So like your primers, your like the stuff that you do before you start putting on makeup is what they would consider the base, and then complexion is all the foundation and stuff. And then some people just lump it all together and be like, my base. I did want to throw that tidbit of information in there. Somebody come in my comments talk about something. Actually, that's complexion, but you did a good job, girl. You did a great job. Anyway, today we are in fact focusing on base and complexion and things of that nature. First, like I said, you are going to need a primer, and I'm gonna show you a couple of mine. Just give me a second. All right, I'm going to introduce you guys to the big bag of almost everything. Hopefully you can see it because I am in cinematic mode. And let's start with our primers. As somebody who leans more oily, especially in their T-zones, and my makeup is also very prone to move, I do have a lot of primers. I'm not gonna hate you, not. So one of them is the One Size Secure the Blur that mattifies and evens out skin textures as it grips makeup for flawless application and enhanced wear applied before makeup. And then I also have a oldie but a goodie, and someone that will remain true. This is the Fenty mattifying primer. I've had this one for, I was going to say years, but I actually think I just re-upped on this one. It mattifies. I think the One Size, in my personal opinion, is better because like it truly does. Like it mattifies. This one, it kind of hit or miss, and I know that my oil seep through this. I think that's why I stopped using this as much. And then I also have Elf. Y'all see, clearly I use this more than I use anything else. I have the Elf Power Grip Primers, one with the niacin and cinnations. We have one which I use a lot, especially when I feel like I'm about to break out. I use this one because it's supposed to help with like not breaking out or whatever. And then I have this Elf one. Another thing I will say, my grippy primers tend to hold onto my makeup much longer. And because of that, I'm not going to use those today. I'm actually going to use my mattifying primers because, child, it's like, what? It's almost 12 o'clock. I got to go somewhere in like 2 hours, but I ain't going anywhere after that. So I'm not about to have makeup on for 6 years. So let me go ahead and do my primer, and then I will come back with more instructions. I almost forgot. What is primer for? Primer is to prepare your face for makeup. Like I've said, I think I said this, but if I didn't, I'm saying it now. It creates a barrier between the makeup and your face. Honestly, I don't know if that means it just won't get in your pores or it's less likely to get in your pores, but it does stuff so that your makeup stays in place and that your skin thanks you, essentially, especially now with moisturizing primers. Man, these brows are dark. As you can see, I went ahead and I did my brows off camera, and typically after this I go in with a concealer to cut them out, carve them real nice and cute, and then do an eyeshadow look. But again, today I'm not really trying to do too much. Now before I get into my foundation, because that is my next step, I do want to talk about concealer just a little bit. We'll give concealer its time and we'll talk about it more in depth, but right now I want to talk about it just a smidgen. So there's different types of concealer. You have just the regular concealer to hide dark spots and things like that. You have brightening concealer. A lot of people use like under their eyes just to make their under eyes a little brighter, which I will again show you. But I want to talk about color correcting concealer. I'm going to be using the LA Girl Pro Concealer, and I don't know what this color is, but this color. Not gonna lie, I started rambling. Essentially, what I'm trying to get at is color correcting is something that you do with a color correcting concealer before you put on your foundation. And how you would do that is you would figure out what color and or undertones, whatever blemishes that you're trying to hide is, go to your color wheel, look at the exact opposite side, use that color. So in this video, my blemish was a little more blue. On the opposite side of the color wheel is orange. So I go in with an orange concealer, and essentially it cancels it out. When you put your foundation on, it's going to be pretty much non-existent. Only issue is you got to make sure you don't use too much product, because if you use too much product, now your chin's orange, you know? Now, if color correcting sounds a little too daunting, because you got to remember that the opposite of blue is yellow or orange, and purple is green, and red and orange, and red again. It's okay. You can get you a full coverage or a buildable foundation. Now let's move on from all of the talks about concealer, because we're not talking about concealer no more. We're talking about foundation, girly. I prefer matte. My whole face is matte. I like matte products because, again, I lean oily, and doing the dewy look is cute, but not when you're already oily. So I don't have any products that I can recommend as far as regular foundation. Today I'm using Fenty's Pro Filter Matte Foundation in the shade 360. That 360. Before I get into foundation too much, I am going to use the foundation to carve out the top of my brows. Let me do that and I'll be right back. I've never done it in this step method, so it is really throwing me how I look, but I wanted to be very specific so I could talk about each category as the makeup progresses and not have to go back and forth. But only the top of my brows being carved out is insane. But y'all know I can't give y'all the what without giving y'all the why. So why do we use foundation? Foundation is exactly what it sounds like. It's the foundation. It's the basis of your makeup. And it is essentially making sure that you start on a smooth, even playing field. And now we get to talk a little bit about brushes. So typically I use a stippling brush, which is basically a flat brush like such. This is a new one that I'm just getting into. I usually use a more rounded one, but I had already used it and it was caked up. Now, the great debate between sponges versus brushes. I can have a more in-depth reason as to why I use which one versus whatever. I think it doesn't matter. Personally, I think it doesn't matter. I think brushes do get in places that a sponge typically cannot, but that's only if you use a big sponge. There's small sponges. So do what you want. Do as you will. But make sure it is wet. No matter if you use a brush or if you decide to use a beauty blender sponge or whatever you want to use, make sure that it is moisturized. I use setting spray. Some people use water. But you want it to be not wet. You do want it to be damp or a little moist, because it's picking up product and you don't want all of the product to be here instead of here. But let me go over my chin so you can see. Hold on, huh? What spot? What spot? Take note that I am not smearing this in. I'm not rubbing it in. I am literally patting and doing a light flick to get this where I need it to be. Also, please do not have a hard hand. You literally want to pat it softly and gently and not really rough, because it is going to cause harsh lines. You going to be able to tell where you put that foundation. You see the top of my brows? This not blended in. If you decide you want to go heavy-handed, that's what your whole face gonna look like. Also, don't be afraid to get into them edges and bring your foundation down to your neck a little bit. It's okay. It's gonna get a little messy, but it's fine. You're gonna be cute at the end of the day, you know? As much as I could go on with just this, I think this low-key kind of true. What y'all think? What y'all think? What y'all think? There is so much more to the makeup process. Hold on, guys. We not almost done, but we close to kind of almost done. All right, because I want to get this video up today, on a Monday, because I'm literally editing this today, I'm going to go ahead and just do a voiceover for the rest of the time. Next step is blush. Y'all, blush is necessary. You might not want to do it, and that's okay. You don't have to start off with blush, but y'all, at some point, we got to get into it, regardless of your skin tone. Blush is amazing because it adds warmth. Each layer is basically adding dimensions back to your face. As you can see right now with the foundation, it's blank and it's boring. Also, as you can see in the video, I am using liquid, but I also own cream blush. I know some people are just getting into makeup. I do, however, suggest that you do get a liquid and or cream blush. Honestly, go with the one size cheek clapper palettes because they give you cream powder and a highlighter. That way it's a one-stop shop. But I say this because honestly, it just adds to your look. Not just the blush, but having it layered. You can do just a cream and it's cute, and you can also do just the powder, but it doesn't show up as much as when you use both. Also, placement is up to you. Obviously, your cheeks are almost a non-negotiable. However, you can see in the video, I also do my nose, and later on, you'll see that I rub it across my forehead as well. Those placements are optional. All right, now to get into the concealer of it all. This is what I like to call highlighting concealer because it is essentially highlighting the high points of your face. You'll see me highlight my under eye, the bridge of my nose, the tip of my nose, upper lip, chin, and forehead. When you look at your face from the side, these are typically the points that stick out and away from your face. And so essentially that's what I like to put the high the highlighting concealer on. Y'all know how when y'all be going into these editing softwares trying to fix y'all's pictures, you go in and you try to fix the highlights. This is that. And when you get to contour, it is quite literally the opposite. Your contour is going to be your shadow work. Here, I am going to be letting my concealer sit because it allows me to blend better and more seamless. You'll be able to see as the video goes on. But contouring is just as important as highlighting. Let's really get into the contour of it all. Naturally, I have an indentation between my upper jaw and lower jaw. However, that is not where I am going to place my contour. I'm going to place my contour right on the bottom of my cheekbone. This allows me to lift my face up some. And as far as placement goes, I do my cheeks, I do the sides of my forehead, as you can see in the video. I also do my temples and my, did I say jawline? If I didn't, there it goes. I also do my nose, but I don't do it right now because honestly, when I do it in this stage, because I wear glasses, it ends up looking crazy. I'm not going to hold you. So I don't have too much emphasis on a nose contour, but this is the placement for my highlighting concealer and contour. Almost more important than the placement is the technique for blending. This brush is fluffy yet dense, meaning it has a lot of hairs, yet it is thick and doesn't move a lot. And what you see me doing in the video is pressing my makeup up towards my hairline because you want your cheeks to be lifted, not drug down. So I flick in a very soft motion, like again, I'm not doing this heavy handed. I'm not pressing in too tough. I am simply flicking the product upwards to create shadow underneath my face and therefore create a lifting effect. Now for my forehead, it is slightly different. I actually bring it down because this is going to make your forehead look smaller. I don't have a naturally big forehead, so I don't do too much, but I do make sure to also blend it in a little bit with my edges so it's not like a random shadow out of nowhere. The most important part about this is taking your time to blend. This video is sped up, but naturally, I do not move this fast unless I am in a rush. Learn how to blend slowly. Don't come in trying to do it all types of fast. I promise you, you're going to look crazy. To get a perfect blend, it is going to take time. You have to learn your face shape. You have to learn what you like on your face and how much of it. Because I used to use a lighter contour. Now I use a darker one because I like my face to look a little more carved, a little more chiseled. You might not. You might want just a little bit of definition and call it a day. Now, using a tinier version of my contour brush, I made sure to use my setting spray to dampen this, and this is what I'm going to use to blend out this concealer. I personally am starting with my lip and chin and forehead, and basically everywhere other than my eyes because I have creasing eyes. I'm going to probably always talk about that. My under eyes fold over and therefore causes creases. And if I were to blend in this product under my eye and then go on to the rest of my face, I can promise you right now, it'll look like I put nothing under my eyes because it's all just going to melt into the folds. And if you thought I was feathering in the other parts of the video, girl, this is true feathering. I have slowed the video down to its original speed just so you can see one, how light I am pressing in this makeup and the process in which I am doing it. I am not stamping onto my face. I am slowly moving the product into place. And I'm making sure to be extremely light on the outer edges of it so that it blends seamlessly and that, again, there's no rough mark or lines that be like, yeah, I see where your contour starts and where your highlight end and all of that type of stuff. And this is what I meant earlier by a seamless blend. If you really look and get into it, the blend between my concealer to my blush to my contour is so beautiful. And you can barely tell where it starts and where it ends. And just to reiterate, blending takes time, guys. It is going to take you a while to get this and to really feel comfortable with doing this on a daily basis. I have been doing my face for about 8 years, and only within the last six, maybe, have I began to like really use full face products. I started off with BB cream and a bronzer. Okay. So it's going to take you a second to figure out the face shape that you like. So don't be afraid to try new things and don't be afraid to try it at all. If you mess up, that's okay. Take it off, try again. Truly, the most important thing is making sure you're getting the blending techniques and making sure you have the right products for you. There are certain foundations that don't necessarily mix with different concealers, and honestly, it's all trial and error. And I'll tell you guys just how I was telling my best friend, you don't even have to start with all of this at once. Start with foundation. Figure out what shade, what type you like. Start there. Then, add a little contour. Then blush. Then concealer. Slowly but surely build up to the products that you're using on your face. You don't have to be a full beat baddie in week one. You can start off slow by just finding a good foundation and working your way up. All right, guys, now I'm using the one size setting powder. I use loose powders on my face, especially under my eyes. Once I've set my concealer, I go in with the setting powder. And honestly, because this one is the translucent one, I tend to go over my whole face at the end with this as well. But this is a stage that I call reinforcement. Why do I call it that? You may be asking. Well, let's get into it. As promised, this is how I contour my nose. I just go down the sides of my bridge and around the bottom and across the tip just to add a little circle in the center of my little nose. I like the little boop effect. But anyway, while I'm blending that out, let me talk about my reinforcement. What that means is everywhere there is any type of cream or liquid product, I go back over it with a powder version just to lock it in before I even get to setting powder. That way we are reinforcing everything that is on my face. So right now I'm going in with the pink shade that's in the Warrior 2 palette by Juvia's Place. I go over my blush first, then I'll go over my contour, and then I'll go over my entire face one last time with a setting powder that I just used, a translucent one by One Size. To reinforce my contour, I'm using the Contourization palette by Crayon Case. Ooh, I almost forgot, y'all. And like I said, I go over my entire face with the One Size translucent powder. I start under my eyes just to make sure that they haven't moved or slipped, and then I slowly work my way outwards. Then I'm gonna dust off all of the excess because you don't want to get flashback, which is when you take a picture with a flash and you look like a ghost. Do y'all see this face? Isn't it? Oh my gosh, no, y'all, it's way too tea. I need to start doing no eyeshadow makeup looks way more. But this is what you should look like at this stage. And all you have left is to do highlights and setting spray. I am using a one size highlighter. I want to say this is a part of the Fat Ass Trio. I do not remember the shade. I want to say it's Twerkalicious. But I'm using that highlighter. It is a little more pigmented than I'm used to. So you might see me making some crazy faces. But we're going to highlight our cheekbones, the bridge of your nose, tip of your nose, brow bone, and inner eye corner. And now onto the setting sprays. Now, again, I'm an oily person, so I prefer a completely matte look. So today I will be finishing this look off with a matte setting spray. However, there are 1,000 different types. There's dewy ones, there's some so that under blue light you look like this and that and the third. Choose whatever works for you. As you see me spraying here is the Charlotte Tilbury spray. This does not dry down matte. However, it does blend in the powders that I use so that I don't look dry and cakey. And then I go in on top with the one size setting
All
spray.
right. So I did go ahead and do my setting spray layers off camera. And usually I add so much more. I do a lip combo. I be adding molds and all the things. But I really wanted to show you guys how simple makeup can be. I know this video is probably much longer. I'm hoping to get it to 20 minutes or under, but we shall see. I know this seems like a crazy amount of steps, but I do hope that this was educational to some degree and that it shows you that makeup is actually really not that hard. I promise you. It seems like it is, but it really isn't. It's about repetition. Anything is going to be hard if you don't continue to work at it. Huh? You catch it. And I have lashes, which helps, but you can simply use mascara. I promise it'll look just as fine if you're like, I don't want to add lashes, I don't want to go and get clusters, I don't want to whatever. You can use mascara, and again, it'll be perfectly fine. Guys, thank you so much for coming back to my channel for Makeup Monday. And I'm happy I'm consistent. But anyway, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Comment what part of the video you like the best. If you've made it this far, go ahead and comment a pink heart if you got it. If you ain't got it, I don't know. But go ahead and comment a pink heart down in the comments below. Come on, guys. Show love. Show some affection. Show some attention. Share this with your friends, especially those who are trying to get back into makeup. And subscribe so that you can see more of this beautiful face. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Baby girl, you are so pretty, pretty.